Olá pessoal, sejam todos bem-vindos ao canal Games. O vídeo de hoje, pessoal, fala sobre a programação de God of War 3. Realmente é um vídeo fantástico para quem é fã de God of War. Se você não é inscrito, já se inscreve em nosso canal. E se for inscrito, não esqueça de deixar seu curtir e deixar um comentário no vídeo. E após esse vídeo vai ter novos vídeos falando do God of War 3, tá bom, pessoal? Então vamos para o vídeo.
The programmer's role in the game is to help make everything a reality.
We make tools that allow the designers and artists to actually make the game.
If the designers want to do something or the artists want to do something, if they're smart, they'll consult us and ask, can we do this? And often we'll say no, and then they'll say we want to do it, and then we'll have to do it.
You give it to them, they give it to you, say what's wrong, then you give it back to them a little bit different, and then they say no, no, no.
Designers are pretty modest in their requirements. Designers are artists, they want the world.
The biggest challenge we face for this round of the game is content. The amount of content we need to put into a PS3 game is just order of magnitude bigger than we had to put into a PS2 game. And to drive that content around the studio, we just face, massive challenges.
We've got a little line emitter here, and it's got these particles, and it squirts them out to the right. And they get to a certain age, and they die. And one of the things we can do is we can change colour of the particle over its lifespan. Starting from bottom to top, these particles start off blue, then go green, then turn red. Now, if I was an artist, I'd make them go like orange to black to whatever to express the effect that they want to. For me, I'm a programmer, so the nice, simple programmer graphics, nice, bright, solid, simple colours so that I can see when things go wrong. If I run this within Maya, then it runs the tool code that I wrote, which is this stuff, to display on the dev kit. And hopefully, so you can see, they're never going to create anything quite like this because this is horrendous programmer stuff, but they'll take this tech and what they'll do is they'll make fire pots or lava that flows. Anything that's best rendered by creating lots of little primitives and moving them all en masse in slightly different ways that aren't just pre-baked.
This is the soul tech. These are Hades' souls swimming down the river Styx. Right now they're above the river Styx, so I can see them all because the river Styx hasn't been properly watered yet. It was my task here to get them to follow the river along a bendy spline path and then ultimately to attack you. But I haven't done that part yet. Right now I'm just at the basic stage of getting them to swim down the river. The way that I did that was allow the Maya splines to be used and imported into the game, and then allow the designers to specify radii at different points of the curve. So at this point of the curve, the souls will be within that radius, and then as they come along the curve, they'll all be within this smaller radius, and then they can spread back out later here. And this is placed within the canyon just by the file structure. This loop here handles every soul. It updates all 30 of them.
We're not quite artists. Close, but not quite. Some of us have artistic skills. But, we're not quite programmers either, although we do write code, right? Once again, not so much this guy.
And tech art helps make the stuff, and we help people use the stuff.
Because without us, nothing would get done. There's a huge gap between the engineering guys or the coders and just regular artists. So we kind of bridge that gap.
Artists don't understand binary. When a programmer comes over and he's like 00101, it just goes in one ear and out the other, right?
Yeah, they think it's a phone number or something.
We have to invent things ourselves and come across certain lines that nobody has crossed before.
We're good at it though, right? Right here.
We're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
We've done so many crazy stuff in the past that there's nothing that surprises us anymore.
The artists were having trouble just building things. And their levels, the environment guys just built huge, gigantic levels. Bigger than this guy. Yes. And the levels themselves, they just get really big, and they'd only be working on a small section of it, just a little portion. And I wrote a tool that lets them pick which parts they want to use and export just that as a level. And to get that, they just came to me with a problem.
They wanted to exaggerate Kratos and the torture that he does to his enemies. So we came up with a system called the zipper tech, where basically the animator would use controls to open up wherever the cut is on the character. The character artists would model out wherever the cut will take place, and we'll put the rig on top of that. So here we have the Centaur rig and the zipper tech. The Centaur's guts are going to be opened up. And so basically the animator would go in and create the CS move. You can go in and individually select these controls and open and close his gut. Here we have the guts for the Centaur. They're going to be part of the props. The animator will go in and animate these guts spilling out of the Centaur. And so the guts will be placed in and around here. And to further sell the point, we've got separate controls over here in the middle where you can actually pull out the insides.
From God of War 2 to God of War 3, we've used dynamic simulation more and more to do more secondary animations on the characters, whereas before on the previous games, the hair would be stiff or the cloth would be stiff. They would be kind of modeled into the creatures. Now we're actually adding motion to those pieces, so you will see hair kind of moving, you'll see cloth kind of moving.
Towards the end of the previous game, I had, in collaboration with Jason Minters, had created this dynamic system that uses the Maya hair system to drive a series of joints. So as you can see, each of the snakes on her head are independently moving. The animator did not have to individually pose all of these animations, but they have control over the physics so that they can get it to get into a pose that they want, but still when the character moves around, you'll see how the snakes will flow backwards when she goes forwards. It responds to movement, so it improves a lot of the workflow for the animators. It's pretty rewarding to see as characters go from our department through the rest of the pipeline and then come back and actually see it in the game.
So what I received here is a model of Kratos. What I'm doing is adding the wrinkle in his facial expressions. It's being driven by the actual joints in his skeleton. So as you can see, as I lower the joints, his wrinkles go away, and just like a real human, as the joints move up, the wrinkles start to show up on his face. That's some of the new technology that we're putting into the characters and Kratos. Here I have another example. If I lower his shoulder, you can see veins start popping out and striations start popping out on his shoulder. So not only are we putting this technology into his face, but it's also going to be in his body. In the beginning, Yuri kind of got a little freaked out when he got the project because, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, you need to work on this thing, this crazy tail rig that will do everything that we need to get done in this game. There's 4 of us on the team, and we all kind of took a stab at it. And, it was kind of an iterative thing, but Yuri definitely solved the problem.
What we see here is the battle between Kratos and Medusa, and Medusa's trying to constrict Kratos. The idea the rig can do dependent and independent motions. You can rotate one section at a time. I can move one control at a time. So now, for example, here, I'm affecting this part of the rig, and I'm also affecting controls that are right next to it. Things are stretching, and things stay in place or not.
I think the key to it is that it's for an animator, It's very easy to use. We can use it on many types of different creatures, tails, ropes, hair.
In God of War 2, there was a creature Kraken, and that thing had huge tentacles. And Matty, he was lead animator and game lead animator back then. He animated it, and he complained a lot. And after he saw this rig, and after he saw what guys were doing with Medusa, every time I walk by him, he just thanks me for making this thing.
Bom pessoal, o vídeo vai terminando por aqui. Muito obrigado por assistir o vídeo até o final. Espero que vocês tenham gostado do vídeo. Se gostou, não esqueça de deixar o like e deixar o seu comentário. Se inscreva em nosso canal, ative o sininho para receber a notificação de novos vídeos. Compartilhe o vídeo com seus amigos e assista também aos outros vídeos que estou deixando aqui para vocês. Até o próximo vídeo, pessoal. Muito obrigado. Valeu! Fui!